That's scary.
Detailed information. If you could please send your comments by email.
Okay, what was your email, sir?
Douglas.e.Roland, nasa.gov, nasa.gov. It hasn't been done since 1970, the lithium release in the daytime.
Why would it be done now then, sir? In the major newspapers, including the Huffington Post, there was no mention of lithium. Not one. Not one mention of lithium. Until I heard the recording of the actual, I listened to it. I listened to the rockets go off. I had no idea there was going to be a lithium dispersed until I heard payload, lithium, dispersed.
Good indicators of chemical deploys.
Yeah, so his team reports out that they do see the lithium trails.
Yeah. Well, make sure everyone knows that we see the lithium from the airplane.
Roger that.
We've got good sine waves on the electric field. Yeah, copies.
Right. There was lithium dispersed, and I'd be happy to talk to you about it. There are many reasons we're doing it.
Okay.
We don't understand how the wind in the upper atmosphere moves.
Mm-hmm.
In these chemtrails, there's different kinds of chemtrails, as you probably know. Different trails at night we use and different trails during the day. The wind blows them around. They glow either on their own or from scattered sunlight. We take pictures and we can see how the wind trail moves around and use that to infer what the wind is. Just like if you were taking a picture of an airplane contrail, you can use that to see how the wind was blowing up at those altitudes. This is much higher altitude, so we use these chemical trails.
And what is the purpose of knowing what the wind's going to do in the ionosphere?
The purpose is the ionosphere is really to understand our planet. It's very fundamental science. There is Clemson University, which is where all the chemical release work is done.
Oh, really? Well, that's very close to me.
You might contact those guys. I'm sure they'd be happy to explain what they're doing.
Oh, that's awesome.
U.S. naval labs have basically admitted, as of yesterday, that they were able to generate a multiple kilometer wide plasma bubble and sustain it for over an hour using 1.44 megahertz to 4.34 megahertz. And they give the resonance, they give the frequency. Now this is important because NEXRAD radar, let me take you back over here. NEXRAD radar, my original observation was that high frequency pulses were being emitted from ground-based radars, which were having a weather effect, a heating effect around the area. And people said it couldn't be done. Well, it turns out NEXRAD pulses from 0 to 12.4 megahertz, anywhere in between 0 and 12.4 megahertz. Now we're talking here 0 to 4.34 megahertz, so it falls within the spectrum, the pulse frequency. This is proved, here it is, the US Naval Research Labs have done it, and they did it using the billion-watt facility up at HARP. Now, that's over a very large area that's generated very high up in the atmosphere. Now, what we're seeing here with radar works at about 750,000 watts after it goes through the klystron tubes, 750,000 peak watts. And so we're looking at smaller versions of the same facility. And they talk about it, the circular appearance of what appears here, and they even are able to image it on their radar, which is slightly different than the weather radar that we see standard civilian-wise. And the other discovery that we made a month ago now is that radar devices are used as quote-unquote heaters. And they're doing it over the North Pole, for instance, from a place called SPEAR, S-P-E-A-R. And they're able to project a radar frequency. Here's a diagram from their site showing super darned radar at the peripherals. Then you've got your SPEAR radar at the center pointing up to a spot where they cause massive heating. We're talking upwards of 5,000 to 8,000 degrees they're able to generate. From that, they also have found that radar itself, when it goes up and disturbs the ionosphere, gives its own resonant signal that appears in the shape of a circle. Here's the buoy project. They placed HARP buoys around the entire planet, one of which, it was a project, and that's the one we're reading about here, was down near New Zealand. And they placed this at what's called a conjugate point. And we can go back to the patents, and I'll show you what a conjugate point is. Okay, here are the patents. We have to go one patent down. Okay, see this right here? This comes up and comes back down to the Earth. Now, as it comes up and comes back down to the Earth, you can imagine the Earth's magnetic field being a whole bunch of these. It's not just one. And the signal from HARP goes up into these bands of magnetic energy and comes back down to a point on the South Pole and vice versa. And so one of the that's called a conjugate point. the point where it comes back down to Earth. These come from government documents. These are not just made by someone. Okay, here's an actual 3D cloud shot, so you know it's not just on radar. It actually occurred on cloud cover too. Diagrams of how the radar flares occur, and then shot after shot of different types of systems they're using. This is out of Minot, North Dakota several years ago. Here's a shot I did. The concentric rings, the catcher's mitt that's waiting for the HARP signal. Here's a vortex generation system. Again, frequency manipulation. Here are the scalar squares that I'm talking about. These are the squares that come down on top of the rings. You've got a ring that appears and then a square that appears on top of it. Or the cooling or heating of a storm. Here's an actual picture of the buoy, the HARP one-hop buoy. Here's the documentation from Stanford. Read the abstract, the whole introduction. It's a pretty long PDF. It explains in depth how they intend to measure it, how they built it.
I woke up to a crime scene this morning. As you can see here, this is some pretty intense pollution. The question is, what kind of pollution is it exactly? Some people say that this is just water vapor, like when you see your breath on a cold winter day. That's funny, because I've never seen anyone's breath expand into a cloud that followed them down the street and around the corner so that it could linger there all day long. Oh no, ladies and gentlemen, these are not typical clouds. They're not contrails either. Some people suggest that these clouds are a type of synthetic cloud, with scientific literature referring to them as an SRM cloud, where SRM stands for Solar Radiation Management. There's actually a lot of material out there on this subject, including a US patent titled Atmospheric Injection of Reflective Aerosols for Mitigating Global Warming. They're mixing in silicon and various other substances such as reflective metals into jet fuel so that it will basically combust with jet fuel and come out of the exhaust to form a synthetic cloud. However, that may just be a cover story. These clouds may in fact have a dual purpose. Like your kitchen knife, you can use it for dinner or you can use it for self-defense. For example, these SRM clouds could be used for what's referred to as backscatter radar or over-the-horizon radar. That's where they beam radio waves off the upper atmosphere or off these synthetic clouds to scan areas of interest that are normally outside of the radar's range, like doing a bank shot on a pool table. While you would think modern satellite technology would be more logical, it stands to reason that these synthetic clouds are kept in place as a redundancy in case satellites were taken out by a first strike weapon. That can happen. Another purpose for these types of clouds may be to use them as a silver screen for Project Bluebeam operations. That seems almost unnecessary given the advances in 3D projection, but you never know. Other people have suggested that these clouds are part of a population reduction scheme, as fallout from these clouds have tested positive for toxic elements such as aluminum and barium. If you look up Agenda 21 and the Georgia Guidestones, well, it would seem like a possibility, wouldn't it? However, I believe the real reason for these synthetic clouds is much more complex. Now, if that wasn't the most wild clip you've seen today, then I would love to see your playlist. What makes sense to me here is that these clouds are being used to detect incoming craft somehow. These synthetic clouds contain fine metallic particles, so anything passing through them would leave a footprint. These people obviously use some sort of cloaking technology that allows them to blend in. And if they can cloak a person, it stands to reason that they can cloak a ship as well. By creating a thin layer of particles particles in the stratosphere, anything that passes through that layer would leave a trace detectable by radar. The backscatter signature would be different wherever there was vertical penetration, allowing over-the-horizon technology to pick it up. That technology is so accurate they can measure the height of an ocean wave by bank-shotting the radar beam off the ionosphere. They have that capability. And given what we know about the diversity of life in the universe, well, this only makes sense. As for who these people are in actuality, well, there's really not enough information out there to make an opinion. Given the vastness of the known universe, though, it's only logical that there would be a wide variety of races visiting our planet. Some insiders have suggested up to a dozen different races, maybe more, with some of them being good souls and with others being described as not so good. The Bible on this topic makes it clear that there is a kingdom of darkness and a kingdom of light, and in the final days our entire galaxy will be dragged into a massive war. That's the interpretation. So it is my belief that whoever these people are, they must fall under the same authority as the rest of us. Otherwise, it would have been like when Columbus discovered America. Further interpretation of the Bible suggests that as long as we can sustain ourselves, we will maintain dominion over this planet. That's the good news. What's concerning is that given that this is a Goldilocks planet, that makes it valuable on a galactic scale. Therefore, if we were to do ourselves in somehow, somebody else would take over. We could do ourselves in by war, by pollution, by asphyxiation, take your pick. But by looking at this map, it becomes clear that our planet is being terraformed by the technology that we're using. So the question that we should be asking ourselves here is, where did we really get our technology from? Some people say it was reverse engineered from the Roswell crash. Others say it was sold to us at a price. My conclusion is that in either case, we were allowed to have this technology with the premise that we would eventually wipe ourselves out with it.
Okay, you guys, I want to tell you that video, because that's a
part of a population reduction scheme, as fallout from these clouds have tested positive for. Now, if that wasn't the real reason for these synthetic clouds is much more complex. Now, if that wasn't the most wild clip you've seen today, then I would love to see your playlist. What makes sense to me here is that these clouds are being used to detect incoming craft somehow. These synthetic clouds contain fine metallic particles, so anything passing through them would leave a thin layer of particles in the stratosphere. Anything that passes through that layer would leave a trace detectable by radar. The backscatter signature would be different wherever there was vertical penetration, allowing over-the-horizon technology to pick it up. That technology is so accurate they can measure the height of an ocean wave by bank-shotting the radar beam off the ionosphere. They have that capability. And given what we know about the diversity of life in the universe, well, this only makes sense. Insiders have suggested up to a dozen different races, maybe more, with some of them being good souls and with others being described as not so good. The Bible on this topic makes it clear that there is a kingdom of darkness and a kingdom of light. And in the final days, our entire galaxy will be dragged into a massive war. That's the interpretation. So it is my belief that whoever these people are, they must fall under the same authority as the rest of us. Otherwise, it would have been like when Columbus discovered America. Further interpretation of the Bible suggests that as long as we can sustain ourselves, we will maintain dominion over this planet. That's the good news. What's concerning is that given that this is a Goldilocks Goldilocks planet, that makes it valuable on a galactic scale. Therefore, if we were to do ourselves in somehow, somebody else would take over. We could do ourselves in by war, by pollution, by asphyxiation, take your pick. But by looking at this map, it becomes clear that our planet is being terraformed by the technology that we're using. So the question that we should be asking ourselves here is, where did we really get our technology from? Some people say it was reverse engineered from the Roswell crash. Others say it was sold to us at a price. My conclusion is that in either case, we were allowed to have this technology with the premise that we would eventually wipe ourselves out with it.
Okay, you guys, I want to tell you that that video, the channel that I copied that video from, has been taken down. The whole channel is gone.
Think about being able to do it remotely through a frequency, through pulses of data, digitized data through the air, that you could manipulate portions of the brain to think certain ways, to manipulate actual DNA of a body, of a living item, to make it what you want it from a distance. Their attempts are to do it digitally, identify every living thing on this earth, where they would have some control of every living thing on this earth. Well, they're suggesting that we will be instilled with mini computers. I say mini, micro-sized computers, all throughout our bodies.
The really shocking news is that we're already been wired for this system.
Yes, yes. There are many sensors. We've read articles about the release of billions of tiny, tiny sensors that are already bringing information back to supercomputers. I think that you have to assume not just the sensors, but the microprocessors are also swimming in our bloodstream.
Every time the CERN makes a rotation with its magnetic fields, it is endeavoring a cyclotronic movement.
This next one that we're going to see, this is Dane Wigington. He's very passionate, speaking out about solar radiation management, chemtrails, okay? He doesn't like to call them chemtrails, that's what it is. He's going to talk about the 5G insanity that they're bringing us online with very quickly, rolling that out. That's just nothing but more transmitters to shoot us with more frequencies. Let's listen to him, y'all.
The 5G insanity, where does this fit into? What's being covered up right now from public view that we're not being told about just how dangerous 5G is? For those of you who don't know what's coming with 5G, they are ramming down our throats the installation of transmitters all over the state, all over the country, literally an unimaginable amount of transmitters, I'll get to that in a moment, that expose us to highly dangerous frequencies, even more dangerous than what we're already being exposed to. Here's the headline. The same frequencies used for pain-inflicting crowd control weapons form the foundation of the network that will tie together more than 50 billion devices as part of the internet. From this report, 5G networks will involve the deployment of millions of antennas nationwide, thousands in each city. The Department of Physics at the Hebrew University in Israel recently detailed how human sweat ducts act like an array of helical antennas when exposed to these wavelengths, 5G. Scientists cautioned that before rolling out 5G technologies that use these frequencies, research on human health effects are needed to be done first to ensure the public and environment are protected. Final statement from this report. The U.S., Russia, and Chinese defense agencies have been developing weapons that rely on the capability of this electromagnetic technology, 5G, to induce painful burning sensations on the skin as a form of crowd control. And by the way, as far as when we pass the point of no return, happened about 2 decades ago. We'll never know the planet we have known now, ever. We'll be lucky if it supports any life for the long run. This report continues. The world may have already missed its chance to avoid catastrophic levels of global warming, according to new research. Of course, no mention of climate engineering ever in such reports. Another headline from the UK, The Independent. World has missed chance of avoiding dangerous global warming unless we start geoengineering the planet. As if that hasn't been going on for 70 years already. As I've stated in program after program, there'll come a point, and that point is here, when they can no longer hide the geoengineering elephant in the room. And all of academia is sticking to the lie, because there's only two conclusions when this comes out into the open, and we have legions of academicians who lied about it the whole time. There's only two conclusions. They're either criminally incompetent for the job they held if they didn't know this was going on, or they are lying. Take your pick. So we have academia also, to protect their paychecks and pensions, doubling down on the geoengineering issue, pretending it hasn't already been going on for 70 years.
Okay, you guys, I want to be very clear right now. Chemical and metal particulates, nanoparticles, nanobots, nanotechnology are contained in the chemtrails. They are spraying on all of humanity. That's not all, but that's what I'm bringing out mostly right now. I'm going to bring out some other things next week. They're putting it in everything, you guys, everything. They want to be sure that they're pumping it into us, that we're all infiltrated. Now, charging up the atmosphere, that's what I'll call it. When they're releasing all that up in the atmosphere, charging it up with all of those metal particulates, right? Helps them to practice and prepare for Project Bluebeam as well. That's where they want to do their false rapture stuff to fool everybody, right? Charging up the atmosphere helps their weapons to work more accurately, to direct their frequencies where they want them to go. This all helps their weather manipulation or weather terrorization, I might say. It helps them to do their attacks against humanity, to target you. It helps to ensure that we are saturated with the nanoparticulates so that their plan of targeting, torturing, and mind control can be carried out, connecting us into the hive mind or the cloud network for mindless slaves following the beast.